Okay, so my recorder is now set up. This I can forget about this part. So you don't have to worry about anything up to this part here. Okay, I'm just going to close everything that you don't need to worry about. When you first start up the live DVD, you will see a screen about that's about like this. You may not see the same thing over here, like backup or temp or virtual, 4Win. That part depends on what kind of hard drive you have inside your system, and also it depends on whether you have plugged in your external hard drive or not. So as you plug in an external hard drive, you will see more stuff appearing on the desktop. In this case, my stuff, it's all in 4Win, which stands for Windows. I have 2 gigs left, so that's probably running a little bit too close. I might need to remove some of my files. I don't see any files that I can easily remove, but I think I'll have enough space for today's class, so that's okay for today. All right, so let me go back to 4Win. I have a folder set up for cisa141. I strongly suggest that you do the same thing. If you have files like video clips or images and stuff like that, copy everything into its own folder so everything is at the same place. And this is also where I will save my video that is in production. So are there any questions at this point? It's just like Windows, point and click, double click to open something, right click, to pop up a menu. Like if you can do a right click and then pop up a pop-up menu. And you can, if you have an image file, you can actually use the GIMP to edit the file. I have everything already installed on this particular live DVD, so you don't have to install anything. I took these pictures in the morning, after I parked my car. So this is going to be what I'll be using for today's, example. So I'm just going to pretend that I'm trying to sell my little car here. And yes, it is my car. It's not somebody else's car. I'll just pretend that I want to sell my car and then see how I can, do a walk around, and integrate the pictures, the video, and music into one, so I can, just, post a link to YouTube on Craigslist or some other places. Okay, so that's the application today. One thing I have not done is to look for the right music, for this. So I'll just go ahead and, search for some music. The live DVD comes with 2 browsers. You can use either Google Chrome or iceweasel. Google Chrome is just Google Chrome, the same as the one that you use in Windows. So you should. Some of you are familiar with that already. Iceweasel is really just Firefox. Okay, if you're already familiar with Firefox, that's just really Firefox. Either one will work fine. I'm going to use Google Chrome. And when you run it, it will still ask you this question because nothing is really installed on this computer. So every time you run Google Chrome, it will ask do you want to make this the default browser? So I'll just go to Google itself. And remember from last time, I have 2 basic ways to import music. One is to use MuseScore, which is good for classical music, and everything that has a traditional score. Or I can import it from LMMS, which is good for importing MIDI files, as well as LMMS, open source, or they call it Creative Commons files. All of those are not copyrighted, or it's copyrighted, but the license allows you to use it in your own production. Okay. So I have 2 choices. I'm going to look for MIDI files instead. So if you already know a song that you want to use and just want to look for the MIDI file for that song, that's pretty easy. So if in this case, I can look for, let's say the Zoom Mazda music. And I may not be able to locate a MIDI file for that. Nope, doesn't look like I can locate a MIDI file. Now this is not something that should be done. OpenShot also allows you to only use the audio track of a video clip that you can download. So if you find somebody else who has who has the music that you need, you can extract just the audio channel or just incorporate the audio channel of that clip into OpenShot. But it's not something that people should be doing. And by the way, the zoom, zoom, zoom music of Mazda is actually of a Brazilian origin, and is originally for the martial art, for the Brazilian martial art thing. So it looks like this is just a regular MP3 file. You can give it a try. It's already on. Yep, I think that's the right music. You can faintly hear that because I have to crank up the volume a little bit here so we can hear more.
Zoom, zoom, zoom.
Okay, so that's the right one, and it's only the introduction. I guess oh, these are ringtones. Let's see if we can download this one. Ah, no. That's the original Brazilian version. Alright, looks like I cannot get just the MIDI file. I'll look for something else then. Let's see. That's a Pet Shop Boys song. Alright, so let's see. Okay, the other one actually did download too. Okay, all right. So once I have downloaded the file, I can use LMMS to open or import that MIDI file. So we go to multimedia, and you cannot find LMMS anywhere here because it just doesn't appear in the menus. The quickest way to do it is to use a terminal emulator. I know you guys don't really want to type in anything, but it's pretty easy. Just type LMMS and then press the enter key, and that will start up the software. And it says, the working directory does not exist. Do you want to create it now? You can change the directory later. So you can just say yes, and create the folder. And then we have to go to the general settings. Particularly, we have to go to path here. And unfortunately, you have to do this every single time because we are not saving anything to the internal hard drive. So this is something you have to kind of set up every single time, which is kind of a pain. The one part that is really important is to set up the default sound font file, because otherwise, LMMS will have problems finding the right file. So for this, you have to go all the way up to computer. You see the little slash here. Double click the slash, and then go to USR. Double click USR for user, and then go to share, double click that, and then you have to go look for sound fonts. I think it is sounds, and then go to SF2, and over here you will see 3 files, and I can never really remember which one. I just know that it's the largest one, so you want to double click the largest one, the first one, which is the fluid r3_gm.sf2. That's the first one. Just click open, and then we click OK. And most changes won't take effect until you restart LMMS. Click OK anyway. And so we have the software. I'll go ahead and close it again and restart it because it warned me that it won't take into effect until you restart it. So it looks like everything is now taken into effect, and we have the default screen of the LMMS. And I want to see if I can change the zoom here so we can actually see the entire screen. So we go to projector setup. I know I can shift it left and right, but the zooming part, doesn't. It has digital zoom, which is not what I want. Okay, I know I can shift it left and right, and the aspect ratio is not what I want either. All right, I'm not gonna spend too much time here because it's all getting recorded. So when you watch the YouTube, watch this in YouTube, it will have the entire screen. So next thing we want to do is to go to project, and then go click on import. And when you click import, what you want to do is to click user again, go to downloads, because that's where I downloaded the MIDI file. So I have two files here, they're about the same size. I'll try the first one, and then click open. And the import may take a little bit of time. If it does take a little bit of time, it's actually doing it correctly, because it has to map the musical instrument from the MIDI file to the musical instruments, in the sound font, setup that we have here. And it's done here. And I also learned from experience that your master volume, you probably want to start it really low. If it doesn't work, then you crank it up a little bit. So we'll go ahead and click play right here. Okay, so it's importing correctly. It's kind of teeny, but it's good enough for our purpose. Then what you want to do is to go to project again, and this time we want to export it as a WAV file. Now, when you export it as a WAV file, you probably don't want to export it to /home/user. You have to go find where your external hard drive is located. I'll show you exactly where to find it, because you want to keep all your media files together. Okay, so the WAV file, you want to keep it together with everything else. So I'll teach you guys how to get there. Go to computer, and then double click the slash here, and then you will see all these mumbo jumbo. Find media. Okay, media is where the first level, and then under media you will see your external hard drive. If your external hard drive has a label, it will display the label of your external hard drive. In my case, it's 4Win, so I can find it here. And then inside that, I have my subfolder cisa141, and this is the location where I want to save my WAV file. So make sure you change the file name of the WAV file. In this case, I'll make it it's a sin, and then click save. It will ask you about all these different questions. So once again, the file format here, we really have only two options. Saving as an OGG file has its advantages because it's not as big. The file is not going to be as big as a WAV file. So I'll go ahead and save it as an OGG file, OGG. Sampling rate means how good is the quality. 44100 is really the maximum sampling frequency, even though it has higher ones, but this is really the one that that is already sufficient. In terms of bit rate, the higher the bit rate, the more quality, the better quality you get. At 160 kilobits per second is already good enough for most people. So unless you're an audiophile, you probably won't be able to make, and you cannot tell any differences between all these different bit rates. So for the most part, all the defaults are fine. And I click start, and you can see it's actually just exporting the music into the OGG format at this point. And depending on your computer, this can take a long time or take a short time. You can also see the master volume seems to be pretty low, and that's because I changed it here to be pretty low. After this is all done, we can open it up using either Audacity or some other software just to make sure the sound quality is actually reasonable. almost done. All right. So now that this is done, I'm going to use Audacity to open up that file, just to make sure that the volume and everything is correct. Audacity is under Multimedia, under Applications menu. So I just opened up Audacity, and remember, all this software is already pre-installed onto the DVD, so you don't have to install anything. The only difficult part is to locate the file, because you have to keep on going to 4Win. In my case, it's inside 4Win. And then go to cisa141, and then locate the WAV file. It's actually an OGG file. I should change the extension. And you can see that it's not exactly the right volume, because you should see the volume to be about at the maximum. So with this one, I'm just going to redo it. So I'll close Audacity, and then go back to here and change the volume a little bit. Instead of 4%, I would bump it up to maybe 12%, and then redo the whole thing. Project, save as, and project, save as. Oh, I think the last time I used export. Project, export. Okay, there we go. And I would start with the OGG file extension. And once again, I have to go back to computer, scroll all the way down to media, find my external hard drive partition, label name, and then go to cisa141, and we'll just go ahead and re-export it. See, so click save, and take all just the default settings. Click start again. You can also see from this bar here, you can see that the volume is a little bit better this time. So I think this time it will do it correctly. It will be sufficient for what we are doing. Are there any questions at this point about how to download a MIDI file and then turn your MIDI file into a format that OpenShot can take? No questions? Okay. If you want to incorporate different types of music into your production, it's actually, you can do it too. It's pretty easy. You just drag and drop different types of music. I'll go ahead and open it again using Audacity, just to make sure that the sound quality is okay this time. So go to 4Win, go to cisa141. And this time we have two files. One is a WAV file, which is from last time. It's actually misnamed because I used the wrong extension. The new one is the OGG file. We open it up. Okay, this looks okay. Okay, it's not really quite, I can probably amplify it a little bit more, but this is good enough already. So I'm going to close this Audacity, and LMMS, I'm just going to minimize it, because I won't need it anymore. So now I have all the pieces in place. I have my music, I have my pictures, I have my video clip. So now it's just a matter of how do we put everything together. So to put everything together, we go to Applications menu, we go to Multimedia, then we go to OpenShot Video Editor. No, not all effects can be loaded. That's it's not exactly an error message. It simply means you don't have as many effects as you could have if I had installed all the modules. But this is already good enough for most applications. So I still have a few things that I need to include, which is the title screen, because I want it to open up to a title screen, which says, okay, this Miata is for sale, da 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 da, and maybe a close screen and say, thank you for viewing and stuff like that. So with that, you go to title, you just say new title, and you can then use this tool to edit your title. Okay, so you just say create new title, and you have to enter a file name. So this is not the name, this is not the title itself, it's really just the file name of the title. Okay, so I'll just make it simple and just say title, and click OK. And then now we can enter the text. Okay, we'll just say tax 1996 Mazda Miata. And in subtitle, I'll just say for sale. Click apply, and now we have a title screen. You can go ahead, once you enter the text, you can go to edit text, which is over here, to change the text. You can also change the font properties. You can change the font color and also the background color. The way it is right now, the background color is transparent, okay, which means this will appear on top of the other layers. If you don't want this to be transparent, and instead you want it to be, let's say, black, you can use the color wheel to specify a new color. And opacity, you want it to be completely opaque, so it's completely black here. You just click OK, and now we have a black background with golden color text. Are we doing okay so far with the tool? Okay, and you can also use an advanced editor. I'm just going to stay with the simple one here. Click apply, and now we have a title file saved as a media file. We also have to remember to import everything else. So I will go to File, Import Files, and then I have to go back to my for Win partition, go to cisa141 to find all my other files. And over here, all my JPG, JPEG files, and also my MP4 file, I'll just go ahead and do a block selection. It's one click at the first file and a shift click at the last file to select a whole bunch of files at the same time. And then just click Add. It will ask you, are these sequences or pictures of the same sequence? And the answer is it is not. So you just say no, it is not an image sequence. And now I have all the pictures already imported. Let me change this is really annoying because I can't see the entire screen and you cannot either. So I'm just going to shrink the screen a little bit so we can see everything. So right here you can see I have my title screen, I have all my pictures, and if I want to have a closed screen, I'll go ahead and create another quote-unquote title. So new title, and we can select some of the other ones, like oval, okay. Then we can click create new title, and we'll just call this one closing, and we'll say thank you for viewing, and then I'll say call me at 555-5555 if you are interested. Click apply. Oh, okay, I guess the fonts are a little bit too big, or I got too much text. We can go to font properties, and doesn't let me change the size.
You can just change the writing type.
Yeah, you can change the writing too, but I can also come into here, which is another tool. This is Inkscape. Inkscape is designed to edit SVG files. But I guess here we can go to text. It has a set font size already, so I'll just go ahead and make this a little bit simpler. So I just say thank you, and leave the phone number here. Next time I can show you exactly how to use Inkscape. It's a very flexible software. You can do a lot with Inkscape. But for this class, I just want to show you an overview of what you can do without having to fuss around with Inkscape too much. So we click apply, and now we have another file. So we have the closing file here. So we are ready. We'll go ahead and put the title in first into the first track, and also I have a music track too. So I'm going to have 3 tracks here because I want the first 2 tracks to be of the video or the visual source, and I want my last track to be my music track. My music track is my OGG file, which is it's a sin file, and I just drag it over here. And because this is an audio file, I can just turn off the I thing here, which basically means do not use it as a video source whatsoever. All right, so we have our I dragged it to the wrong one. I should have dragged it into the 3rd track. because I want the first 2 tracks for my video. You don't really need, the ordering doesn't have to be exactly like that, but that's the way I want it. Every time you drag something into the tracks, into the timeline, this part here is called the timeline. Okay, from here to here, this is called the timeline, and the timeline, is separated into multiple tracks. You can actually preview everything if you want to. As soon as you drag something into it, you can take a preview, and right now, that's all that I have, which is fine. Are there any questions about, just, creating, the project file itself, up to this point? This is good? All right. So as you work on your project, you probably want to keep saving it, because you don't want to lose, all your work in case, something happens. So when you save the file, you probably want to save it to, the file or the folder, the partition that you're using. In this case, it's 4Win again. And I'll go to, okay, I take it back. It's not just 4Win, we'll have to click others, because otherwise it will just save it to the drive, but not to the folder that I want. So now I have to go to 4Win, cisa141, and then click open. So now we are at the right folder. Then I can name my project. We'll just call that, Miata for sale. Okay. The project profile, there's a lot of options here. It depends on what you want. What do you want to create this for? We have HD, high definitions. We also have, other formats. It all depends on, what is your intent. What do you want to use the output or the production? What do you want to use it for? DVD is okay, but most people do not really use DVDs these days anymore. What was the last time that you played a DVD disc? Today? This morning? You got kids, right? Yeah, if you have kids, sometimes, you use DVDs. No? Okay.
I don't have kids.
I don't use DVD. I have not used a DVD for at least, a year or so. Because I keep all the media files, on the computer or an external hard drive like the one that I'm using here. And I don't really need the DVDs. There's no need to worry about scratching, and it's just a whole lot easier to transport the file. If you want to export to YouTube, I would just go to one of the HD definitions down here. 720p is really good, except in this case it's going to be a wide format, so it has its advantages and disadvantages. So I'll just kind of go back to the default, which is up here, NTSC DVD, and click Save Project. And now we are ready to, as we work on the project, we will just have to keep clicking the Save button here to make sure that we don't lose anything that we have worked on. Are we doing okay so far with this setup? Okay. What I'll do is I'm going to hide this panel here. You don't have to do it when you do it. I'll just go to Panel, and then go to Panel Preferences, and click Automatically Show and Hide the Panel. What this does is, if I click here, if my mouse pointer is at the bottom, it will appear, but then it will disappear all by itself. This gives me a little bit more screen space to play with. You probably have a much higher resolution screen to begin with, so this may not be an issue when you use this at home. But I have only 1024 by 768 here, so this is a kind of a big issue for me. All right. So the next thing we want to do is to find out, how do we want to present, the video. I have an MP4 file here. I'll just go ahead and start with this next. There we go. The MP4 file has its own audio source. So if I don't do anything right now, when we get into the audio file, it will both play the music that I just created, the actual soundtrack, but it will also replay the audio captured in the video file. So we'll go ahead and just skip portions of it. You can always skip the timeline just by clicking, and we'll just play this part here. That's the audio source from the Okay, but you can still hear the noise, the wind noise, from the background. There's an easy way to fix it. Click the audio button here, and that will turn off all the audio source from the video clip. So now it should be completely silent, other than the actual soundtrack that I want to use. Okay. Now last time you asked me how to break up or clip a video clip, so I'll show you guys exactly how to do it. It's really easy. If you don't want the entire track, you can actually drag the sound bar, the timeline cursor, to about here. And let's just say that I don't want the entire thing. I don't want the entire walk around video clip. Okay. So let's just say the last part here, I just want it to be up to here. Okay. So you can use the cursor, the red line, to quickly locate, okay, this is the part that I really want to stop. So what you need to do is to switch the tool and click this tool here, resize tool. When you click the resize tool, you will see that the cursor get changed to a resize tool indication, and you just drag it to the place that you want it to stop. And you can do the same thing with the beginning. Now I have to go back to the arrow tool and to preview what it looks like. Okay, so let's just say that I want to do a half walk around. Okay, so I want to start, let's say, from here. This is where I want the actual clip to start. So what I can change back to the resize tool, and this time you can see that the tool has is pointing to a different direction, because it's going to clip from the beginning instead of clipping from the end. So I will clip from the beginning and shrink it all the way to the red line here. And now we have a video clip that is shrunk, that is already shrunk to the portion that I want.
What are the scissors for?
Sorry?
The scissors.
The scissors is for actually cutting it. So these are analogous to the actual tool that you normally use with filming. So the next thing I want to do is to break it up into like different chunks. Okay, it's really cool. It's really neat. So the next thing I want to do, okay, maybe I want to move it back to the beginning first. Okay, to here, and the scissors or the razor tool allows you to break it up into smaller sections. So I can break it up into. Now I'm just doing this randomly, so you probably want to be a little bit more discreet. So from one single video clip, I'm creating these smaller clips. Each one is a very short duration, and then what I can do is each one I have to go back to the arrow tool to do any type of moving. So each one now I can make it alternate, and then I can add transitions between all of these little parts. You guys, do you see what I'm trying to do here? Okay. Or I can remove half of them. Okay, I can create the effect of like play like half a second of the video clip, and then put a still picture, and then play another half second or so, and put in a still picture. So it's entirely up to you to decide how you want to do this. So let's just say that we want to achieve that particular visual effect. I'm just dragging everything out here. I have the snapping tool in place. It's in snapping mode. The magnet is actually highlighted. It's snapping, which means if one clip is very close to the beginning of, if the end of one unit is close to the beginning of the other one, it automatically attaches. Okay, so sometimes you might want to turn it off if you want to do fine editing. So I'm just gonna give this one a try here. And anytime you want to just kind of check out what it looks like, you can just go ahead and rewind the cursor to a particular place and then give it a try. Okay, so this is actually where the music starts. So you can actually also time sync it, so you can have more still pictures, all the way with a very smooth transition until the music actually begins. Then you start to show the video clips. Are you guys doing okay so far with this? Okay. Now, if you want to mark this place because it's actually very significant, this is actually where the music begins. We just got past the intro part of the ambient music. You can add a marker. You can add a marker here. Okay. Previous marker. Adding the marker. All right. Anytime you have any question about how to use the software, you can go back to your browser, go to the OpenShot website, openshot.com, or OpenShot Video, sorry. OpenShotVideo.com is the website. Go to Need Help, go to Help menu, Manual, and it will show you exactly how to do that stuff. So I want to look into marker. One quick way to locate marker is to use the search feature of your browser. F3 in this case, function key F3, and then just search for marker. And it doesn't say anything about marker. All right, let's see here. Well, if I cannot find it this way, how about OpenShot marker? There we go. And then now we can look for markers. Add a marker which allows you to quickly jump back to this point. Keyboard shortcut, seek. Okay. How do I set a marker? That's what I want to do. Add a marker. I know that already. Okay. It's not a drag and drop. I'm thinking the marker is already here. Yep. It's just behind it the whole time, so I actually had a marker already there. Okay. So one thing we can do is to drag all this clip here, from. Let's see if I can do a shift. Oh, okay. That's not what I want to do. It looks like there's no easy way for me to shift everything over. So I'll just keep it the way it is. And now I can start to incorporate, the JPEG files into it. So you just drag it into a certain place. Now this is going to be too long because I don't want my JPEG to take up, two, little shots of video. So you want to resize it. So once again, resize is to use the resize tool. And you can just change the video, the still picture, to a smaller part like that. And we'll go ahead and just replay this portion to see what it looks like. So you can see the transition is really sharp because I did not specify any smooth or easy transition. So the next thing you want to do is you can select how to make the transitions. We'll go ahead and use the other portion of this screen to specify transitions. I'll just kind of drag a few images here just to show how to do the transitions. Now when you do transitions, you have an option. I would overlap the images a little bit, so when you're doing the transition, it will transition easily from one picture to the other picture. The transitions are all here. Go to the Transitions tab, and you already have a really good selection of transitions. You can use Dissolve, which is the easiest one. Basically it fades out one and then it fades in the other one. You can also go really fancy with all the other ones. Some of these are too fancy and it makes it kind of distracting. So you want to pick one that is okay but not too not too distracting. So I think a wipe one is probably good. So drag the transition down to the portion between the pictures. And this one is actually wiping in the wrong direction, but we can change that later. Now, we are still using the resize tool here. You can actually just use the resize tool to resize the transition part. And if you just want to play this portion here, we can go ahead and just see how the transition happens. And it's not transitioning because I think it's wiping in the wrong direction. Let me turn off the audio track for now because it's just going to be distracting. So we can go ahead and play it from here. Nope, it's not transitioning because it's moving in the wrong direction. Alright, so how do you change the direction? Go to the arrow tool, which is for selection. Go to the transition and right click it. So once you right click on the transition, you can go to properties, and there are a lot of attributes you can control here. And you can see the direction is up. We want to change it to down. And we just want to apply this and then give this portion of the clip another try. Okay. And it's still not transitioning. Oh, it's at the wrong place. There we go. You can actually see the wipe action now. This is playing at real time. Did you guys see the transition?
Yes.
Okay. So you want the images to be overlapping if you want the transition to be smooth, because you want it to transition from one picture to the other one. Any questions about this stuff that we have just talked about? No? This is okay? All right. So next we'll go ahead and put another picture into this. Okay, so let's go ahead and pick, I don't know. Let's pick the steering wheel. Okay. This time I want this to be a little bit longer. So I'm going to create this to make it a little bit longer and turn off the soundtrack from the, okay. I don't have to do this. This is just a picture. Okay. When you right click on a picture, okay, I'll go back to my arrow tool. When you right click on a picture, you can see these options already. Most of these you can do already using the other tools that we have talked about. But when you go to animate, it gives you a lot of animations that is already quote unquote canned, and you can do animations based on a still image. In this case, you can see from here there are different types of animation you can do with just a still image. Okay, because when you make a presentation out of video and you just take showing a picture for 5 seconds, that's kind of boring. Okay, so this allows you to have some sort of animation with the picture, and you can see that you have different types of animation. We'll just go ahead and try zoom in. Okay, zoom in is as the name implies, the picture appears small to begin with, and eventually it will zoom out to 100% of its original size. So we'll go ahead and click zoom in 50% to 100%, and then we'll change our timeline to portion. Uh-oh. Did it just crash?
You didn't save it.
Yep, I think it just crashed. It just crashed and I did not do what I said I should be doing. Which is saving the files a few times first. All right, so we'll go back to the point and open the project. And I didn't save a
Lesson
single
learned.
thing.
Lesson learned
Mm-hmm.
for all of us.
Yep. Okay, so you don't want to do this. You want to save the file a little bit more frequently, okay, just in case it crashes. All right, but I'm just going to go back, to only show that portion. Okay. I'll use a resize tool, make this a little bit bigger. Right-click, go back to animate, and just zoom in this case. All right, so you can actually see if I just play it like this, it's just zooming in, and there's nothing you have to do other than specifying the effect. Okay, specifying the animation. So if I play it at real time, this is what it looks like. So this is where the music, the thunder noise starts to appear. So I probably want to put a bookmark here, just so that I know where to do different types of transition. There are other types of animation too. So with this one, because this is where the music ends or the music starts, I'm going to make a transition here. Make this clip a little bit shorter, and then put in the next one. So the next one, maybe just an overall picture. I will drag it over here. And once again, I can animate, go to animate. Now this is really, really nice because everything is canned, okay? You can go from center to top, you can go from top to center. You can basically allows you to pan the picture. So if I want to make it a little bit fancy, I can go to left to right over here. So we'll go ahead and replay it from about here. So you can see how you can actually use this to integrate more stuff. You can have two pictures, one zooming in from right to left and the other one also doing the same thing, and then have the fade effect to help you transition as both of those are animated and going from left to right. Okay, so you can combine the effects if you want to. Are there any questions at this point? No questions? Now you can also go to effects here. Now these effects are really fun because they give you special effects on the video, on the visual part, and also on the audio part. Everything that has a little music note here is for audio special effect. So you can pan it from left to right, or you can adjust it if you want to. Everything that has a play button here, those are for video special effects. So you can actually go with let's say a grayscale. So use a special effect, you can just drag and drop it. So drag and drop it here, and now the picture, the second picture or the second photograph will appear to be black and white. You see it? So let me just going to go back here. So the next one, if I pan it from in the opposite direction, that will give you, the effect of sliding one picture out and then sliding the other one in from the same direction where the other one, just slide it out of. Are there any questions about all the tools that I have talked about up to this point? No questions. So would this do most of the things that you are thinking about, you want to do with your final project? Yes, no, kind of, okay. The really nice part, I want to go back to the video part. So if I drag this into, let's say this part here, I think having the ability to chop it, into smaller parts really helps, because you can now, have an existing clip, and you can cut out, certain portions, and then with only the remaining portions, you can also do other types of, special effects. So you can apply a different effect to each, sub clip of this picture. Of this video. So once again, if you want to, do that sort of effect, use the razor tool. Now they should have used a razor as an icon instead of a pair of scissors, because that's not the same as a clipping tool. This is a clipping tool, which they call a resize tool. So you can apply the scissors and chop it into smaller portions. So now I can, drag this one. Oh, I made a mistake here. I was not using the right tool. I have to go back to the arrow tool to drag and drop it. Okay, so I'll drag and drop this one over here, and put this one back up here. Go to transitions. Maybe not transitions. Maybe this is fine. Go back to the pointing tool and just replay that portion. What happens, if you want to add narrative to it? Can anyone kind of guess what to do if you want to add narrative to your whole thing?
You record yourself?
You record yourself using which tool? Which tool allows you to do voice recording? Come on, Audacity, okay? You use Audacity to process and to record. Okay, so I can just do that here. Go to Applications, go to Multimedia, go to Audacity. Audacity is really useful for many different things. One of the things you can do easily is to use it as a recorder. Okay, you just record your own voice. So just click here, and I'm recording my own voice at this point. At any time when you're done, you just click stop. And I have just recorded a clip of my own talking during the class. Okay, so how do I incorporate this into the video? I can import it. Okay, first of all, I have to add it to the library. Okay, that's the first thing we have to do, is to get it out of Audacity first. So in Audacity, when you want to save a file, in this case, I am actually exporting. So I'm exporting to the folder inside ForWin, because once again we want to save it to the external hard drive. So we go to cisa141, and we want to save the file as either a WAV file or an OGG Vorbis file. Okay, so I'll just save it as an OGG Vorbis file, and then we specify the file name. Okay, so we'll just call it narrative, and we click save. It will ask you about all these things. They're all optional. You don't have to specify a single thing. You can just click OK, and the file is now exported. Then we can switch back to OpenShot. We go back to Project Files, and then we go to File, Import Files, and now we have the extra file. It should be here, but it's not. Oh, 141. And it's narrative right here. We click Add. And now we have an extra file. But it's not in the timeline yet. So we want to incorporate that into the timeline as well. Okay, so we'll go ahead and add another timeline, another track just for the narrative. Now the narrative is really short. So it doesn't, it's not for the entire duration of the video clip. So what you can also do is to fade into the narrative and then fade out, back into the background, back into the music track. How do we do that? You can cut it, okay? So that you can cut the music. Now cutting the music is really helpful in this case. Okay, we put a clip here and then we put a clip here. Okay, the nice thing about this is each clip, I think, has its own control of the whether you enable or disable the mute the audio. So I can mute only this portion without muting the other portions. So we go back to the beginning. Okay, let's say we go back to here, and then we can see. Just click here, and I'm recording my own voice at this point.
It's kind of
Well, I'm just showing you the
Yeah.
effect, right? I mean, because it has no transitions whatsoever. It's like cutting off directly from one soundtrack and then cutting back into the other soundtrack. Now, if you want it to be more smooth, you can actually use a fade tool. So that once again, that will be in the transition. Maybe not. These are all visual transitions. So if you want to do the, maybe it's in under effect. And that will be under audio. It's an audio effect. Have balance, phase, echo. Yep. Oh, there we go. Fade in, fade out. So we want to specify fade out, fast. And then with this one, we want to specify fade in and fade out. So we want to say fade in, fade out, fast. And then this one, we want to fade in, fast. Okay, give it a try. Just click here, and I'm recording my own voice at this point.
How do
Okay.
you know if you want it to fade in or fade out?
Fading in is getting into the clip. Fading out is getting out of the clip.
That makes
But I think the fading only applies to the video, but not to the audio. So I have still yet to find how to fade in and out with just the audio.
When we're doing the project, is there a certain amount of video that you want, or does it really matter?
I want the final production to be about 4 to 5 minutes.
Well, I know, but I meant like the certain video. Does it matter if it's like a 10-second video, 20?
It can be only 10 seconds. I'll give you a laundry list of things that I want you guys to incorporate, like the transitions would definitely be one. Having a soundtrack as a separate track would be one. So I'll give you a laundry list of things that you have to hit.
When?
Probably after Thanksgiving.
Because I like to do things like now.
Oh.
So
If you want to do it now, you probably will end up doing more than what I really need. I'll try to come up with a laundry list as soon as possible, so you guys can start to work on it right away.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So it looks like I'm running up against a question.
Called phaser.
Hmm?
What was that called, phaser?
I think phaser faces it from left to right. It's so loading. Okay. So we add the special effect here, and we'll take a look. Click here, and I'm recording my own voice at this point. At any time when you're done, you just Oh, okay. So that's it. Is it fading in and out? Yeah.
Sound like it.
Yep, sounds like it. So if you right click here, you go to properties. It shows you all the effects that we have already using, and this one has a phaser effect, and you have gain in, gain out, delay. So that's exactly what we needed. It's called a phaser tool, not fading. I guess fading only applies to visual, and then phaser is for audio. Very good. And you can just play with it, until you're happy with the output. Are we doing okay so far? Are you guys
Save
ready
it.
for some really annoying animations and special effects?
Yeah, but save it first.
Save it first. Very good. Okay, so go ahead and save. All right, so now it's saved. Now we'll go ahead and work with some really annoying special effects. Okay, I have my video here. All right, so with the video, you can also add all sorts of annoying special effects. One is rotate. Now rotate though doesn't seem very annoying. But you will see. Now it's only rotating in one axis right now. Remember, this can also rotate in 3D space. So right now it's only using one axis for rotation, which is the axis that we are looking into. So it's just turning it like this. But you can also turn like this and also turn like this. Okay? So we'll go ahead and take a look at how do we incorporate the other rotations. Right click it, go to Properties, and then go to Effects, and click the effect itself. You can see, once you get into this screen, you can go to all these effect-specific settings. We have rotate X, which is this axis. We have rotate Y, which I think is rotate X is this one. This is probably Z, and then the other one. Let's see, we have this, and then this. Okay, so there are 3 axes. Now, to find out which one is which, it's not too hard. We just have to, set the other one to non-zero, set the first one to 0 again, and then apply, and then rewind our tape, back to, right before it. And it just keeps on going like that, okay? And you can combine the rotations if you want to. So if you go back to Properties and go to Effects, you can actually integrate multiple transitions or multiple rotations. It's probably useful if you want to make a transition. You can combine this with a zooming out or zooming in. So you can just twist the picture out and then twist the other one in. But to make this any longer than a few seconds is going to be kind of unpleasant. Someone can get motion sickness because of that.
Yeah.
Are there any questions about the tools that we have talked about up to this point? Nope. Now I want to stack up different effects and see whether that works. Okay. So let me put a scissors here to cut it, because once you put a scissors, the 2 parts become now separate. You can apply the special effects to one and stop it for the second half. Okay. So let me show you exactly what I mean by that. Let me see if the cut actually happened. Nope, I did not actually cut it. So I want to find out exactly where everything is fully aligned, which is at this point. I apply my cutting tool, which is my razor tool, right here. So now I have 2 clips, even though they're actually from the same one, but now they're operating as separate clips. I go back to the arrow tool, right click on the first one, go to Properties, and go to Effects, making sure that the rotation is still here. And now I can go to the second one, go to Properties, and go to Effects, click it, and then we can remove the effect. Click Apply, and now the first one still has the rotation effect, but the second one does not. Okay, so let's go back to the very beginning of this entire thing and see what it looks like. So we do 2 forward rotations and then stop the rotation. So it gives you a lot of flexibility, because it means the special effects, you can make it apply only to one portion of a video clip, and using the cutting tool you can now say, okay, this part of the clip is now logically separated from the second clip. And you can choose different effects of different portions of exactly the same video. Now, if you overdo this, it can be very annoying. Okay, if you apply black and white and then threshold and then stuff like that, It's okay to experiment, but if you in the final production, if you just do a few seconds of one effect and do a few seconds of another effect, just it can be very annoying. But one full rotation, and then make it not rotate anymore, it's okay. It's a transition. Any questions at this point? Do you think the rotations can apply to the title screen too? Well, let's give it a try. So you just scroll all the way back to, oh, I missed the title screen because it's right here. Save the file. Okay, now I can try to add an effect to the, let's do a blur to title screen. And scroll it all back to the beginning. And it stays blurred the whole time, which is not very helpful. Alright, so we go back to the first one, go to Properties, go to Effects, go to Blur, and you can see that the starting point is 50%. I want the ending point to be 0. I don't want it to be blurred at all. So this will give me a blur effect when it first starts up, and then it will just gradually sharpen to the blurs that I want. So apply again and restart the whole thing. So you can see how you can make special effects like that. Now what if I wanted to from blur to sharp, and I wanted to stay sharp for 3 seconds because people might need a few seconds to actually read the title. What do you think I should do in that case? It's a tool that we have just used a little bit earlier. Okay, let me just say that again. I want the title screen to first appear blur. Okay. In fact, I might want it to be 100% blur, so there's no shape whatsoever. It's just a background color. And then I want it to sharpen gradually. And then I want it to stay sharp for a few seconds before I transition to the next portion of the video. What tool should I use to accomplish that? The resizing can be used to kind of drag it out. But which other tool do I need? The cutting tool. Remember the razor tool? It allows me to cut a clip into several logical portions. So let's see if I can do something like that. Okay. By the way, these are timelines, it has a number on it. That's the second into the video. So what I want to do is to use the cutting tool or the razor tool, and I'll just put it about here. And then I can use the arrow tool again. And I will go to Properties in the second half, go to Effects, and say I do not want any blur anymore, only for the second half. And then click Apply. I right-click on the first half, go to Properties, go to Effects, go to Blur, and this time I want to maximize the blurring. So, or make it 100 instead of 50%, make it even more blurred. Click Apply, and then we can start the entire thing again. Take a look. So now it stays sharp for the next few seconds. Okay, so if you wanted to have a fade in or from blur to sharp and then sharp back to blur, you just need a cutting tool again. Cut it one more time and then reapply the blur effect. But this time you're going from 0% or 0 blur back to 100% blur. Okay, so you can go from blur to sharp, stay a few seconds, and then go from sharp back into blur. Is that making any sense? All right. So you can see that there are lots of things you can do with with this tool. I mean, it's just just a lot of stuff you can do. Any other questions about the tool?
Do you have music for the entire video?
Sorry?
Do you have music for the entire video?
You don't have to have music for the entire video, but I would say having a soundtrack.
Oh, never mind. I just remember there's gonna be video, and obviously you don't want the music. No, it's all good. I got it.
Okay, you got it? Okay.
Yeah.
Any other questions? No other questions? All right. So before Wednesday, I'll give you guys a list, a laundry list, of what I need you guys to do for the project. And then you guys can go at it and do it. And then when we come back, I really doubt that I will have much more lecture for this class because all the tools are already introduced. So unless you guys want to learn a specific tool or a specific technique to do something, send me an email and I'll learn how to do it and I'll present it in the class. But other than that, we'll turn this into an actual lab, which means you would use your live DVD, bring in your media files, and then we'll work on your project during this time. Okay?
Do you have to use it on these computers or do you bring your own?
You can use your own if you want to.
So that makes it easier.
It makes it easier, but you also have to make sure that you can use OpenShot or something similar to OpenShot, on your own computer.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine. Mhm. Yep.
Is it okay to use the video editor on YouTube?
That's a good question. But they may not have all the effects that I want you guys to use, or may not cover everything. I know it covers more and more. Okay,
I'm starting to use it right now. That's what it's
I think that's fine as long as you can accomplish the same thing and and use the same concepts. It will still be okay. In fact, I haven't used the video editor in YouTube for a long time. Last time I used it, it has very limited editing ability. You can basically resize and do a few other things. And by the way, this tool can also you can slow motion things too. So if you take something like someone running, you can actually right click on the clip and basically slow it down. Let me see if I can show you that exactly. So you go to Properties, and then you go to Speed, and now you can say you can run it at faster, or you can run it slower. And by and once again, if you want to achieve let's say a matrix effect, so what you can do is you can use the cutting tool. You cut out you basically just cut out the middle portion where you want the slow mo to actually take into effect, and everything else will run at normal speed. So you can achieve something that looks like a matrix, slow mo, like regular speed, and then suddenly it drops down to like slow motion, when you dodge the bullets, and then everything back to normal speed again. So you can do a lot of fun stuff, with this tool. Okay. Any other questions? No other questions? The cutting tool doesn't sound like very exciting, but it allows you to achieve a lot of special effects because you can now separate a video clip that normally is just it's really boring, but now you can separate it into different portions and apply different effects onto the different portions. So it gives you a lot of room to play because of the cutting tool. So learn how to use the cutting tool. You will find that it's really quite useful. You can also use the cutting tool to cut out a clip and then duplicate the clip a few times. So now you can have someone to do the same motion over and over and over again a few times, which is also some of the special effects that other people use in video production. All right. So we are running out of time today, but I think we covered a lot of ground today with these tools. I will upload the video later on, so you will all have access to it.